Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part number 2 of the Nemesis 8 preview. As we already covered the VTK 42, and now it's time for its Soviet counterpart, the 71st Tank Division here in the Schools Out DLC. And this one has a lot of instructors as well. It is a pretty interesting division too. But before we jump in there, quick shout out to Warner League Season 7, which is starting at the 24th of August. And if you're a competitive 1v1 player or you want to become one, this is the tournament for you. We are, as always, split up into 4 different skill sections. So no matter what skill level you're at, if you're a new player into the competitive scene of 1 in general, or if you are a veteran of many thousands or hundreds of hours, you will have good matchups here. Sign up down below. Group stage is going until the end of September, and then we're gonna have the playoffs afterwards. It's gonna be a lot of fun, gonna be covered on the channel extensively as well. And let's get back into the 71st Tank Division. And it is a really nice mix. Once more, we start with a logistics step that has some interesting stuff here as well. It has the BTR 50 that just looks pretty cool with this big antenna. We have Ural Classic, the old but gold flight truck here for the Soviets. And then we have a big mover here with the ZIL 135 Snap, a new Soviet truck that just looks dope as well. But it's nothing special. 2000 supply, really solid supply truck, especially for your artillery. And then we have the good old Belazor and the Chaika, two well-known TV units by now as well. And your FSP with the Lapsania. And then in the infantry tab, you, similar to what we saw in VTK, get an interesting mix of reservist units and a couple of standard ones, though here it's even more reservist than in the other, actually, as you get your 7.6mm MG and your 30mm grenade launcher, both as reservist. So then you get your Fish Pulumachiki, which is a really interesting unit, as it's not just reservist, but also militia, but it has 3 light MGs as normal for the Pulumachiki. Triple MG here, though these are RP46 MGs, so quite old weapons there. So you can bring these guys around in a BMP1 that brings up Malyutka. It is 25 points, it is reservist as well. So the Malyutka goes down to 35% accuracy, but you can get out a lot of BMP1s here in this division. And then you get your other reservisti moving around in BMP1 reservisti as well. So you get, for 55 points, a 7-man squad with an RPG 18 and a BMP1, but both on reservisti. And your reservisti camaraderie here with the RPG 7 VM can move around in BMP1 as well. We also have the Prishivniki moving around once more. In we know them from 157. They have a sniper rifle, which makes them decently combat efficient. They can come around in the BTR 50, so that you can save 5 more points even compared to the ZIL truck. And you get 4 cards of them, so you can really spin them out. But with the militia trait, they are always going to stay somewhat inefficient with their firepower here, as you cannot even remove that with the instructor units. And then you have your normal reservisti here with the RPG 7 VM. We have seen a good couple of times by now as well. Decently cost efficient, and especially if you combine them with the Instructori, the instructor unit of this division that brings around the RPG 7R with 20mm 20 pen, but more importantly, also with your normal BMP-1P Fagot and BMP-2 variants, which bring around the smoke launcher and potentially even a Conquerors and a good autocannon. So for 105 points, you get those guys in the BMP-2, and then can kind of anchor your plop around that, as infantry formations here will be numerous, as you just get a lot of infantry with this. And the Prish Saperi is your reservist or militia Saperi here even, that comes with double flamethrower and some old PPS 43s. as your weapons. The cool part about them, though, is their transport. And that is a BTR 55, which is a T-55 turret chassis without the turret, but instead a Dushka. So kind of like the Kangaroo in Steel Division, transport for your boys with a tank chassis that gets you with 8 frontal armor pretty good, well into the front line. Can survive a couple of ATGMs, but more importantly, can survive or cannot even be touched by autocannon fire frontally. And even with 5-sided armor from the side, a lot of autocannons will have issues. So you can just kind of drive them out to the front line. Issues, you can't kill them back, but against other things with an autocannon, you're pretty well protected. And for 35 points, that's a really good combat unit. Speed is the issue here, but outside of that, BTR 5, really nice little units. Then we have the Saperi, moving around with the BKM and some AKs and some satchel charges. And then we have Saperi RPOs with the RPOA, always great, and just a normal Saperi RPO, no reservist on this one, so you really should take them. As we get more reservist units with the B11. Issue with the B11 is that is an anti-tank unit and not an infantry unit, so the instructories won't buff them. If they would, I would argue this could be a nice unit, but with that not being possible, I'm not a big fan of the reservist recoilless rifles. Their stress situation is just too bad, so that they just get stressed out when anything starts firing back on them, and then they just don't hit anything anymore, and also have a terrible rate of fire. Not that great to begin with, so B11 here, struggling a bit. And as an ATGM, you at least get the Fagot. You don't get a Conquerors, but at least a normal Fagot team, no reservist on this here either. So really interesting infantry tab. The lack of good 7VL AT launchers is a bit annoying, but the mix of VRs plus VMs still should get you covered decently well. You get decent Saperis, and yeah, the Instructories, good play with them will be the decisive factor here, as if you can get all the reservist units to work with them, they should be pretty cost efficient. Artillery tab is a classic one as well. A lot of reservists going around here as well, though. 82mm mortar with reservist, 120mm mortar with reservist. You get your BS3 with reservist as well. That is kind of a mix of an anti-tank gun and an artillery piece. 100mm gun here can be used with 16 pen as an anti-tank gun as well. So could be something to consider. Issue is just that with reservist, if they get shot back, they start to struggle as well. But outside of that, could be interesting. Maybe just try to use them as an AT gun here. Then we have the 152mm howitzers, the D1 as reservist as well, which can come at the Cross or the MTLB. And yeah, 152, the range is the issue with the D1 guns, though. We have seen that in 157 already. 12 kilometers is not quite enough. And you have another 122mm 12 range with the M30 here, once more as reservist. Moving around here as well. Little short barrel artillery piece, quite old as well. Can fire some pretty terrible heat rounds with super low range. But against a recon vehicle, it still might be enough to at least stun it down or something. But yeah, with 25% accuracy and so on. If you have to fire this at any point in any game, you know you are in a lot of trouble. And then we have a Grud. You can get 2 of them, and that might be your best option here to really get something out of the artillery tab. As with the buffed up HE value, Gruds are actually kind of decent. Yeah, and if you can get 2 of them, they can be doing a good amount of work. Tank tab is where the interesting part of the division is at, in my eyes. Start with Reservist, BRDM2, Malyut Gapi. That is not that amazing, but having an ATGM carrier here is kind of key, so you're gonna take it anyway, in my eyes. But maybe you have a lot of BMP1s actually going around, so you might not have to. And then we come to the Reservist tank part of it, which then gets added up by the instructories to buff them all up. And here we start with the T-54Bs as reservists, as we know them from 157th, but with the instructory next to them, this could actually be a really interesting blob. Heat rounds here, The T-55A with reservist, quite interesting as well. You can up-vet all of them to 1-vet if you want to, so that is for sure getting them to a decent level. And then with the instructor, they go to 2-vet and start and lose the reservist trait. So this is the way how you get them to work out. And next to the T-55 and T-54, we also have a lot of T-62s. Two family here being represented with really old T-62s, with the OBR 67 here. No smoke on these. The low range gun, thanks to lack of fire control as well, with only 1925 meter range. But you get them for super cheap, 65 points for an 18 heat gun, and you can start them at 1-vet as well. With an instructor plus the leader one, you can get them up to 3-vet. And then a T-62 is not going to be the highest rate of fire ever, but at least it's going to be a decent rate of fire, which usually is the issue of the T-62s. And you get them so cheap that with 18 heat, plus you also then get the accuracy up to a decent level, you can really start to get some shots on target. And the final one here, the OBR 75, we have seen all of these with Don in as well. You get slightly better fire control, 2100 meter range, and the 17 pen gun here on that range. Same shell he as the one at 1925. Both have 18 pen at that range, but this one here gets the extra level up in range. So interesting options there, especially considering that you can mix them nicely with the T-64 OBR 83 instructor, as that is an 1925 meter range tank as well. Really solid one, 170 points. You get decent availability here for an instructor unit as well, and a good autoloader cannon that really can buff up the T-62 plop, and you get so many T-62 for cheap, and then buffing them up with this is nice. The OBR 75 you might want to combine with the T-62A OBR 81, as this is a 2100 meter range tank with 17 frontal armor, and can have this go nicely with the T-55s and so on as well, so that it stays behind them, but they move closer to the front line, so that the enemy might start firing on your reservist units instead of your instructors. Because the way how to blow up an instructor formation is killing off the instructor and then killing off the reservists, but with the extra frontal armor, that also might be tough. And then in the end, we have the T-72 OBR 89 instructor, and that means that we get the best kind of T-72 here in this division as well, with the severe missile and 20 frontal armor. So the T-72B OBR 89, a fantastic tank here as well. 20 frontal armor, severe missile. The gun is still only 2100 meter range and still 8 rounds per minute, so that part is not that amazing, but it's a fantastic missile carrier. Has 11 hit points thanks to the era trait as well, so really survivable vehicle with a fantastic missile. Really getting this tank tab up to a good level when it comes to just stopping power against medium and heavy tanks of other divisions, together to all the reservists, and you can get a lot of tanks here. So really, this is the power of the division, and it's going to be really interesting to see how effective this combination of instructor and reservist can be in this division. Recon tab is really interesting as well. We start with a super annoying unit that might be underpriced. We're gonna see how this all goes. Currently it's 15 point, and this is a jammer unit. So very good optics, and it's just gonna level down everything else on the other side, down to very good optics as well. So especially in team games, or in combination with a BRM-1K, you basically can create recon supremacy by having exceptional optics on your side and maximum very good optics on the other side. All GSR, all exceptional optics units being downgraded to very good. So the Pyramida one here, really a nice little unit, can be quite efficient. Issue is, can you fit it in the slots? So, but I feel like you kind of should. Then we have BRM2s and the Retvetkas in a UAT's truck. But more importantly, you have Mod Retvetka. Only one card, and you have to really decide what you want to have them move onto the battlefield, as they get the BTR-80, they get the Retroetka BMP-1P with the smoke, and the Retroetka BMP-2. So you get a decent opener unit here. The issue is you only get one with all three good transport options. All of these three are good. BMP-2 by now quite expensive. BTR 80 doesn't mean that you don't have as much anti-vehicle firepower, but you are faster and you have really nice fire support against infantry. And BMP-1P, pretty cost efficient recon IV, but means obviously that you're a bit slower as well. And yeah, you then also get BT-76s here and BRM-1K, one card there as well. So likely it's gonna be BRM-1K, Motvachevka, and then Rachevetka or the Pyramida. That's what I would at least build with the recon tab. AA, you get the reservist Strela 2s, not great, but really cheap at 20 points. ZU-23, dual barrel AA, and then a 57mm here that we have seen and done 100 and 457 already as well, the 8ZP S760. But the interesting part is you get them on the big still 135 truck as well, and with 2650 meter range, that's an interesting unit. It only goes 90 km road speed, not 100, so it's not fastest vehicle mounted AA gun, but it's an interesting one and looks pretty dope in my eyes as well. And then you also get ZU-23 on a SIL 157 if you want to move around with that instead. And then the BRDM 2 Strela 1 launcher here, the quick moving around. With them now having reloads, I really like them as helicopter hunters. But the most important and unique AA unit in the division is the BTS for a ZU-23-2. And that gets you a ZU-23 and a Dushka on a tank chassis with 6 frontal armor, meaning that you're still decently easy to kill by anything heavier, but meaning that you're immune to autocannon fire. So you can even bully some of the lighter IFVs, and all APCs cannot do anything about you at all. And it also can survive a good couple of AT launchers frontally, so you can kind of brawl with this against infantry formations as well, and it is decently priced for that. 65 points, goes 60 km/h off-road speed, so quite nice in that regard as well. And then, as the long-range AA, we have one card of Nevas, but only 2 missiles here. Only 2 launchers. So that's your long-range AA. Decent accuracy, good range on these. So you have your long range, you have your short gun-based and light missile-based AA as well. And then we come to the air tab, where we have 2 interesting splits. We have the SU-24 family here, with the older variant SU-24s with 20% ECM, and a good couple of different options. One with the KH-25 air-to-go ground missile or anti-tank missile, which is only decent. Interesting part is that these come with 4 R60Ms, so actually a decent helicopter hunter with the 23mm gun pod as well, and okay at dueling enemy light aircraft maybe as well. So only 20% ECM, so you maybe don't want to risk it. Then you have your SU-24 with 6 of the S-250 rockets, as those come around nicely as well. S-250 really doing good damage. Gun will assist a bit as well. So decent rocket platform here. And then the SU-24 HE with 6 500kg bombs. Only 2 R60s though, not the 4 that you get on the AT variant. So not quite as good at hunting helicopters, but quite good at bombing with high altitude. Seed with the good KH-58U seed missile. Good range on this one. 5,400 meters. And you get 4 R60s this one as well. 30 ECM only though, which is really low for a seat. So that's the issue with this one. Outside of that, good seat platform. 24 cluster then, with the 6 250 kilogram cluster bombs. So not killing every tank when it runs over them, but at least damaging nicely. And you get the R60Ms here. And then you get some good Marine 1 air-to-air aircraft here with the MiG-23 MLD and the MiG-29 9/13, and those come with free veterancy. And the MiG-23 MLD is the classic MLD outside of that. R24Rs, R60Ms, 20% ECM. So decent platform. The R24Rs, good long-range missiles. And the R60Ms not as great, but you get 4 of them here below this aircraft. So good loadout there. And then we have the MiG-29 though, which is a one with 40% ECM and with extra veterancy. That means that this is a really tough plane to kill, whilst also, thanks to the extra veterancy, having good accuracy on its own missiles. And it has the R73s with 4 of them, but the R27T, which in my eyes is the weaker R27 variant. It is fire and forget, so that's the interesting part there. And you get them with the free veterancy, so this is still a fantastic card, and you're likely gonna end up with 2 of these, and then maybe don't even take the MiG-23s. So yeah, this MiG-29, fantastic fighter. Quite high in the price as well, but that's absolutely justified with the 40% ECM and so on. And then you have the SU-24s as good attack aircraft. So 71st here, really an interesting division as well. And let me know down below what you think of it. And yeah, gonna be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, as I said, we're gonna get the video out about the patch. So we're gonna talk about all the changes there. A good couple interesting ones coming around. And don't forget to sign up for Warner League Season 7, guys. Hope to see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.